One of my favorite things to do in the Fallout games is to pick a random weapon type and restrict myself to using it for the entirety of the game. We've done shotguns and sniper rifles in New Vegas, even melee only in Dust, but now it is time to take a detour to Fallout 4. I've always been a big fan of the unique pistols of the Mojave, but here in Fallout 4 we have a few more interesting guns.
That's quite big.
When combined with several mods and some not-so-subtle connections to New Vegas, this playthrough is bound to be a treat. Without further ado, get on your thighs, let's check out these pistols. Before we begin our journey, I go ahead and select Survival difficulty. This is less about the specific challenges survival mode brings, like not being able to fast travel or dealing with the survival mechanics, and more about the damage scaling. Very hard makes enemies feel far too spongy, while survival mode hits a sweet spot. With the alternative start mod, I can skip through some of the repetitive beginnings and jump straight to naming my character. I went with Clarkson. This time around, I decided on trying a Vance build after my last one went completely sideways. I don't really think I learned my lesson though, because my agility was still pretty bad. Right off the bat, I grab a book that lets me get bonked more and check my location. Near Sanctuary is as decent place as any. From there, I make sure to spend my starting perks wisely. Lone Wanderer, Gunslinger, Sneak, Critical Banker, Better Criticals, 4-Leaf Clover, and Grim Reaper Sprint. Combined, these should give me a solid chance at running a fast, sneaky build with heavy reliance on criticals.
Got it.
After dealing with a few ghouls and looting where I can, I find myself surprisingly impressed with my drip, though I really can't get a good look at it. Yes, that's a skill issue. A few raiders were polite enough to give me some armor, and I continued south to unlock more of the map. I stumbled across a book that lets me gather additional meat, which I can't complain about. Overall, nothing too crazy happens until I come across a gunner settlement and decide to test my luck. It goes about as well as what you'd expect, given my ridiculously low level and poor gear. But after some time and a few explosions, I take down the entire encampment and unlock some new apparel. A ghoulish doctor earns some points for creativity, but also reminds me how utterly dumb it was to get care here unless I would have been in power armor or stocked with radiation cures. Still a cool idea nevertheless. Crossing the bridge near Oberland Station, I take down a ghoul and a gecko and get hit with the usual "the settlement needs your help" spiel. That immediately gave me an aneurysm, so I decided to roleplay as if my character had amnesia. A few more ghouls meet my 44 stumbnose, and a couple of creative traps slow me down but really don't stop my progress. Reaching Fort Hagen felt like I was really accomplishing something, though of course you can't skip too far ahead in the campaign. Back at Oberland Station, which I apparently didn't forget about, much to my dismay, I regear and head over to Diamond City to kick off some of the main quest. This means taking out a few raiders and sneaking through super mutant infested territory. Piper greets me at the Green Jewel itself, but I have to sit through a 2-minute conversation just to rent a room. If anybody knows of a bed that doesn't require this nonsense in Diamond City, even if it only lets me sleep for 5 hours, please let me know, because it's the bane of my existence every single run. I'm sure Vadim and his brother have a really great questline, but honestly, I just want to sleep. Arturo, my brother in arms, helps pave the way for Diamond City's hospitality and lets me start working towards Nick Valentine. With Nick at my back and maybe my front, I slowly began upgrading my gear. Nick's questline doesn't really go anywhere since I don't technically have a kid and skipped Vault 111, so I instead start with Diamond City Blues for some extra drugs. I let Trish live because, I'm nice. Slowing down to smell the roses, I clear out a few nearby raiders.
The jet will make you jittery.
The jet will make you jittery.
Guess they were right.
She was right.
Another chat with Vadim at the dugout inn makes me want to poop my pants and paint a portrait of Todd Howard. Gunners, though, are still nearly impossible, even with effort. But when a suppressed 10mm pistol drops in my lap, I find a new lover. After a swim and a few more geckos, I stumble into a raider camp led by a legendary raider who simply refuses to die. This one's armed with a suppressed, armor-piercing automatic pipe rifle. I seriously thought about turning it back into a pistol, but honestly I was having too much fun with the 45. That 45 is a weapon that I used in a previous automatics run where I realized it wasn't actually an automatic, a big inspiration for this pistol's only run. It does a solid amount of damage, it's fairly accurate, and uses a super common ammo type. One of my biggest gripes with Fallout 4 is the constant ammo shortage. I get that it may be intentional, but realistically the only way to stockpile it up is to set up a water farm and spend the first 15 levels settlement building, something I really don't want to do in my Fallout game. It's like alphabet soup where all the letters spell cock, funny once but not 16 times. That being said, Fallout 4's combat more than makes up for it. This run gave me a ton of great encounters, most of which were completely unbalanced against me, but I made do. Legendary weapons and armor still bother me, but that mostly comes down to bad luck. While wandering without a clear destination, I secretly hope to find a unique pistol. The Gainer is a unique 44 Magnum that does 15 points of fire damage, but it's locked behind a puzzle referencing system lock. But I've never played anything besides Fallout, so the joke's wasted on me. What can I say, I'm a gooner. Another restriction I set was avoiding power armor, which meant relying on ballistic weave and siding with the railroad in some capacity. A few feral ghouls were cleared on the way, and after a ridiculously hard puzzle, I got flashbanged, which is the last thing you'd want to happen to a trigger-happy survivalist. Fortunately, there were no casualties in the church's catacombs so far. The railroad's mission to rescue Sense is admirable, but it just feels like total chaos waiting to happen. Fallout is built on the idea that nothing is perfect, and this fits right in. During a random encounter, I met Fred and Jules. Without hesitation, I shot Jules, which turned out to be a synth. Probably not my best decision. Who would have guessed that shooting at somebody with no info wasn't a great idea? Deacon's disguise work was incredible and made me want to see him out on the Oregon Trail, but when we hit an overpass full of ghouls, the quest pathing bugs out and Deacon decided to walk slower than molasses. That left me expending way too many bullets firing blindly. Was it worth it? Not even close. To make it worse, I tried to quick save, jump off the bridge, only to realize that Fallout 4 doesn't allow that, so I had to redo the entire section again. Eventually, Deacon and I finally got inside of the facility.
May it serve you as well, heck, better than it did Tommy.
Your stealthy attack was unsuccessful.
Despite me enjoying the whole experience, an invisible landmine decided to put me down for good, which didn't feel great. Eleanor, just south of Diamond City, became a frequent stop for supplying my ammo. The Doctor and the Green Jewel itself also did everything I needed and more, but eventually it was time to head back to Vault 111 and actually begin the main questline. Down the big poop chute I went, clearing out a few roaches along the way and grabbing as many bottles of purified water as I could. Eventually, I looted Nate's body to get the info Nick needed to be interested in the case. I sometimes complain about the way the alternative starts as being a little bit of an inconvenience for this part of the quest, but honestly, the way they handle the dialogue here, shifting it into a holotape, feels like a creative solution. It makes the main quest feel like a side quest until much later on, and I think that's a solid design choice. Valentine ends up helping me out as I take the elevator to steal the mayor's key to Kellogg's house. Inside, I loot just about everything that isn't nailed down, food, junk, whatever. But the highlight is the unique Ranger Sequoia. If you couldn't already tell already, I'm a little bit of a New Vegas fanboy. Nick calls Dogmeat over and I give the good boy some well-deserved pets, and before long, we're at Fort Hagen.
There you are. In danger. Defend.
Playing hide and seek.
after dealing with all the turrets and sets, Kalong goes down in just 2 shots from the gainer. That clears the way for me to sweep the rest of the place and talk with Nick about the next steps. Then the Brotherhood of Steel drops by and colonizes me, leaving me bruised and battered emotionally. Piper points us towards Good Neighbor where we meet Hancock. One of these days, I should really interact with him more than what I do, but for now I head straight to Cleo. Normally I like being called a good boy, but in this situation I wouldn't mind being called a bad one. After pilfering some more supplies, we get shoved into Discount Tranquility Lane to dig into Kellogg's past, using chunks of his brain to replay his memories. Science-wise, pretty cool. Gameplay-wise, complete and total crap. Dr. Amari seems slightly baffled if we even survive the process, and Nick pulls out his Batman voice, making me even more attracted to him.
Hope you got what you were looking for inside my head.
From there, I decided to hunt down the Mysterious Magnum, another Fallout New Vegas favorite. A lot of these uniques are solid, especially the Ranger Sequoia's stopping power, once I actually find ammo for it. There's usually some type of downside, whether it be the rare ammo type or slow fire rate. Personally, I think the 45 pistol is a little bit on the cheaty side, especially the unique variant we'll be seeing later on. Outside of the revolvers though, Fallout 4's pistols feel a little underwhelming. The good news is that instead of whining, I can just push forward, cutting through a few enemies and finding myself well on the road to the glowing sea. A few glowing ghouls took some extra bullets to put down, and I discovered a handful of new locations along the way. All things considered though, getting to Virgil was relatively easy. I did almost die from my extensive need deprivation, but luckily a bowl of noodles saved me. Fallout is so immersive that you forget about your basic needs just like real life. Just after sleeping, I sit down to talk with a woman who has a question for me. Turns out she's Henry Cook's daughter. The second I realized that, I immediately stood up and walked away. Probably the most suspicious thing I could have done, but absolutely hilarious. Back at Railroad HQ, Deacon gives me the Glug Glug 3000 and I touch base with the usual crew. Something I initially missed though, a pistol was just sitting on the table. I'd say that's crazy for me to overlook, but I literally missed another one sitting on the exact same table. This pistol is by far the most overpowered weapon I came across during the run. Thankfully I didn't use it for long, but this weapon really highlights my earlier point. Outside of revolvers, most of Fallout 4's pistols feel like paintball guns instead of actual firearms. When I went after the Courser to get a chit for Virgil so Tinker Tom could decode it, I actually got some great use out of my weapons. The Courser itself was absolutely terrifying, but with a little bit of save scumming, I made it out alive with all my limbs intact. Unfortunately, I walked outside into a radiation storm and took shelter in quite possibly the worst spot imaginable. For some reason, I always imagine every location having food, water, and maybe a sleeping bag, but I found myself disappointed rather quickly. I tried to steal some food and promptly got shot. Relatively saddened by my death, I broke into a police station looking for food and supplies. Look, I don't mean to keep raging on Fallout 4 because the combat is absolutely amazing, but I'll never forgive Bethesda for stealing my toilets. Back in my day, toilets used to be fully drinkable, surprise chocolate and all, and they replaced them with random door keys. For me, toilets were life. Out of the 5 or so times I cleared the station, I don't think I ever noticed the audio log about Nick Valentine. That shows you exactly how much I pay attention to Fallout 4's dialogue. So listen, if you're a little lost with the storyline, I sided with the railroad this run. That meant escorting sense with little to no context through heavy combat zones. Luckily, I was able to cut down the opposition without much trouble. At level 12, a sneak with 3 points lets you walk over mines without setting them off. This becomes absolutely essential when mines are as ridiculous as they are in Fallout 4. Honestly, if I just did level sneak faster, it wouldn't have been such a problem in my one life run. I do really need to study Fallout 4's perk system more closely. There are a ton of interesting ones that I never really touched just because I don't have the experience to master them. I'm not the biggest fan of special replacing skills, but it does mean that you can unlock almost any perk at level 1, you just can't upgrade them yet. It's Fallout, so you're supposed to end up overpowered, but still give me back my drinkable toilets. I struggled to find any water, and all they threw at me were these stupid fusion cores. Grabbing a few Nuka-Cola Quantums, I head out from Ticonderoga Tower after rescuing the synth Desdemona wanted. Tinker Tom decodes the Corsair chip, and that's when I finally pick up the pistol that would stay with me for the rest of the run, the light shining in darkness. This unique 45 pistol was one of my favorites during the Joshua Graham run thanks to its insanely fast fire rate. There are a ton of mods for it, and I was excited to tweak it to my liking. Virgil, the completely useless man that he is, tells me to go help out one of my buddies. Of course, Desdemona is absolutely stoked about the whole idea, and Tinker Tom jumps on that faster than what I do when we start talking about the Imperial measurement system. Feet. Killing a super mutant gets me to Red Rocket, where I start setting up some defenses and build the platform. Pam is impressed, and I blush gently in response. It doesn't take long before Tinker Tom sends me on the long-winded fetch quest of gathering all the supplies needed.
Or me.
The specific thing I needed, though, was a military circuit board, and since I didn't find it in here, I headed to another spot where I knew that one was at. This is one of those moments where I realized that my hand was resting on the wrong part of the keyboard, half pressing all the wrong controls. It makes me want to try a mouse-only or a keyboard-only run just to see how hilariously bad it would be. Maybe we should try to give that a shot in dust. I don't know, let me know down in the comments. Finally, at the robotics disposal ground, I found the board as well as some sexy paint I couldn't even use for this run. After some finagling, I got the pieces set up and then went south for another railroad quest. 2 Yagwai absolutely destroyed me. 1 was already enough, but 2 felt like a premeditated execution. Thankfully, my trusty Sequoia fixed that problem once I finally had ammo for it. With my perks shaping up nicely and Grim Reaper Sprint now at rank 2, I pushed on towards the hospital to grab a magnet doohickey. After upgrading my gear and powering the control station with another generator, I was ready for the Institute. This meant planting what was essentially a bug into their system and contacting the Patriot. Despite the alternative start mod skipping the intro, I still felt the same non-existent attachment to these characters as I normally do. Sean was just a kid, father was just not my dad. The highlight here, looting all the aluminum inside of the Institute. They'll never measure anything ever again. Talking to the division heads was less inspiring, but hey, I got to go back to Desdemona, write a pointless report, and meet Pam again, who has enough personality to keep me coming back. Random encounters with synths were entertaining too. Sometimes I just kill people to see if they were synths. If one dropped a synth component, I came. If not, maybe I killed long-lost twin brothers. Either way, fun. At Kendall Hospital, I fought one of the best raider encampments in the game. Blood bugs and bloat flies outside nearly ended me, but criticals saved me when I couldn't hit anything. A random explosion sent me over the edge, but eventually I secured the railroad's cache. Pam was ecstatic, and Tinker Tom finally gave me Ballistic Weave. About time. The main quest dragged me into a weird section with Molly. I pressed the wrong button and had to sit through her endless presentation. Afterwards, I killed some ghouls and solved the puzzle faster than before. 15 meds instead of 30. Progress, but still rookie numbers. I also accidentally killed Molly, which was disappointing. Back in Sanctuary, I grabbed the special book, boosted strength, and aimed for armor. I didn't want a weak ballistic weave, so I saved a couple levels before pushing onward. Honestly, if the Institute had been more like Megaton, I think I would have cared more. Instead, I speedran through it and denied anyone asking for a rectal temperature. C-114 kept telling me to work with Father, so I did the synth Corsair mission, where the raiders were like fish in a barrel.
Trust me. Only a fucking coward hide.
Gabriel didn't last long when I provided him with his code, and thereafterwards, Father and Desdemona both praised me. Desdemona wanted to protect the sense from Father, so I roleplayed a double agent once again, and X418 escorted me to Bunker Hill. The Brotherhood intercepted us, and I tried making mad dashes that failed hilariously. Eventually, I was able to get past the chaos, but a Gatling laser to the face put me in my place. Sticking to the shadows and putting down the courser worked, which allowed me to save the sense. I then attempted to kill Father, but that gave consequences of failing a few quests, so I decided not to. Father then had me retrieve something for fusion power and mass fusion, which meant wiping out the Brotherhood inside.
I'll give them that.
After the battle, I bought some ballistic fabric, made new armor, and realized that I'd only woven one piece. This is about as dumb as a snail climbing a ceiling. Sure, it works, but way more effort than necessary is involved. Shortly afterwards, I had the weirdest encounter while retrieving a scientist for the Institute. I panicked and used a stealth boy before instantly hating it. Fallout 4 stealth boys hide your entire character, including your gun, meaning that I had to rely on a giant dot on the center of my screen. Now that I say this out loud, I really feel like this is a first world problem. Regardless, I saw the scientist was finished off in my own way. Helping Newton with his department was another rough time, as it took me forever to load the holotape. Absolute skill issue. Eventually, though, I activated the reactor for Father. His retirement plan was cancer, and I became the new director of the Institute. This was then followed by the shortest meeting possible because I hate meetings. Then I returned to Desdemona and reflected on whether I should kill her for Father. I decided against it because her ass looks too good in those jeans. Talk about pretty privilege.
You've killed the last of them, and you're still standing.
That meant that it was time for Operation Red Glare, the absolute highlight of this run. Taking a vertibird to blow up the Brotherhood's blimp, Red Lucy had better watch out because she's got some solid competition. Being undercover aboard the ship was hilarious too. Fortunately, from my experience in real life, I avoided everyone, then blew the whole thing sky high, though I'm not entirely confident that that phrase works when something is already in the sky. I also found out or potentially rediscovered that you could go into third person in a vertibird, causing my already present giddiness to intensify. Desdemona, for whatever reason, seemed extremely into me after that, or maybe that was just some hallucination from my ties but trading eggs in exchange for favors. Finally, I geared up and returned to the Institute. I tried killing everyone I could before the battle actually started, but got tired of figuring out which kills would break quests. This saw me taking the elevator, killing the scientists, and letting Desdemona and the railroad storm in.
Let's do this.
What? I expected.
And that's the run. If you enjoyed this video, hit subscribe, it really helps. And if you want to go even further, consider becoming a member or joining my Patreon. But most importantly, do me a favor, will ya? Have a good one.